Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Girl Beyond the Budget podcast. I am so excited for you to be here. I am the host, Tiffany Burns, money and mindset coach, and I help women become more intentional and mindful of their money by helping them change the way that they think and feel about money. In today's episode, we're actually going to be continuing our series of mindset shifts that we need to make going into 2024 and things that we absolutely need to leave in 2023. I'm not going to hold you, so I'm going to make this episode short and sweet. We are in the thick of the holiday season, and so I want to just leave you with this to ponder on. I'm going to give you some questions to reflect on what things that you need to do. And so, without further ado, here's a topic for today. Today's episode is all about financial discomfort. And so one of the things that we need to leave in 2023 is our comfort zones. And you might have me listening to this like, ma'am, what are you talking about? I'm already uncomfortable in my finances. I'm uncomfortable when I open up my paycheck. I'm uncomfortable when I go to the grocery store. I'm uncomfortable when I look at my bills. I'm uncomfortable when I look at my debt. I'm uncomfortable with all of these different things, right? Life and our finances are making us uncomfortable. And what I'm talking about more specifically are the proactive and intentional things that we need to do to make forward progress to the things that we want. That will alleviate some of these other discomforts that we're already experiencing. And those are more like pain points, like going to the grocery store. That is a pain point, right? Like when you go there, it stings a little bit to spend as much money as we're spending in grocery stores when you're buying gas, all these different things, especially because of inflation. It stings a little bit, right? But we're talking about stepping out of your comfort zone to do proactive and intentional things that will help you move the needle forward in your finances. And so let's just start with some questions, right? I'm gonna give you lots of things to think about, lots of things to reflect on, because I do want you to really, as we wrap up this year, to be really introspective. I want you to look inward and really take ownership, accountability, responsibility for the things that you are doing with your finances. Again, there are things that are outside of our control, and there's still a lot that are within our control. And so in this process, without blaming or looking at the things that are outside of our control, what are the things that we can absolutely handle and manage ourselves so that we can do those things differently? All right, so the first example and the first thing I want you to think about is budgeting. Have you ever hesitated when it came to creating a budget or felt uncomfortable when it was time to track your expenses? One of the things that I see clients do all the time when it's time to do like their financial assessment. If you go back a couple episodes, I talked about like financial coaching. One of the things that I used to do first with clients was have them pull their transactions for the previous couple of months and look at their transactions. And when I tell you, people avoided that task like a plague. It was one of the hardest things that I had to get my clients to do. I've since changed my framework, so we don't do that first anymore. But it used to be so uncomfortable, so daunting for people to look at their expenses, look and see what is going on in their finances, that they just would not do it, right? So I want you to think about that. Have you ever hesitated to create a budget or to look at your expenses? And what was holding you back? I want you to also think about, professionally, has there ever been a time where you wanted to take a career leap and you didn't, you hesitated, you didn't do it, you avoided it? Think about like negotiating your salaries. When it's time to go in and apply for jobs or negotiate your salary, do you just take whatever they give you, or are you advocating for yourself to earn as much as you possibly can? What does that look like? How are you feeling in that moment? Are you uncomfortable with those things? And then I want you to start thinking about financial risks. And I want you to think about things like your investment accounts, real estate investing, stock market investing. Like when you hear people talking about those things, you're just like so out of your element that you refuse to even participate in the conversations or do the things because it just makes you feel uncomfortable. When it comes to starting a business or a side hustle or started launching a business, like are those things, the thought of doing those things, so uncomfortable for you that you absolutely refuse to do it? The reason why I bring this up is because, again, like I want us to be introspective and think about the things that we are doing that are hindering our progress so that we can do things differently going forward. And stepping out of your comfort zone is absolutely one of those things that you have to do if you want to get to your next level. If you want to move the needle, if you want to pay off debt, if you want to save money, you're going to have to do things that are a little bit uncomfortable. If you are one of these women who, like me, want to build wealth, you are going to have to make yourself uncomfortable at times in order to make progress. There's a lot of times where we are just staying in our comfort zone because we believe that if we stay in our comfort zone, we're nice and safe. We don't have to worry about the unknown. We don't have to worry about failing. We don't have to worry about being judged by people or like messing things up or making mistakes. But a lot of times, the things that we are avoiding are the things that we need to do in order to move the needle, or things that are part of our day to day lives and finances and our responsibilities that we are avoiding. And they're just putting it off for the moment, but end up having to face those things in the long run. I'm going to give you some examples. Again, all of these things are just to help you to be introspective and really reflect on the things that you are doing that are keeping you stuck in your finances. It might not be these specific examples, but again, just get your juices flowing and to, try to see where you fit in these different things. So the first example is my best friend budgeting. I do have an episode called Your Budget is Your Bestie. So if you haven't heard that episode, go check it out because I do want us to reframe the way that we think about budgeting. Budgeting is not a bad thing. But I, like many of the clients that I work with, used to feel so uncomfortable with budgeting that we would avoid it like a plague. I remember thinking that budgeting was restrictive and that I wasn't going to be able to use my money for fun stuff, or that all my money was going to go to bills, and that didn't feel good. It made me uncomfortable. I also thought that, sitting down and talking to my husband about my money and where my money was going was also uncomfortable. And so I avoided doing all of the things when it came to budgeting, when it came to tracking my expenses. I used to dread looking at my bank account, opening up that app and having like an idea of how much was going to be in there, and then opening up the app and seeing that there was nowhere near how much money I thought was going to be there. Going through and seeing, okay, well, where did that money go? I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. Yep. That was uncomfortable. And so I did not want to do it. But on the other side of that is stepping out of your comfort zone, looking at your expenses, seeing where your money is going instead of wondering where it went, knowing where it's going and then telling it where to go, which is what your budget allows you to do. You tell your money what to do instead of wondering where it went. And that requires you to get uncomfortable and do something different with your finances. Another thing, another example would be asking for a raise or negotiating your salary. It's been a really long time since I've been in like a formal job. I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years, and then I started my business in 2020. So I have not been in the workforce for a very long time. And so if you want to do the math, like I was in my 20s when I stopped working, but I did not negotiate my salary or raises when it was time to have those conversations. I did not know that I could do that, but I can still tell you that even if I did know that, I don't know how comfortable I would have been with having those conversations. At the time, my mindset was, whatever they take me, I should just be appreciative of and just take it. So the raises at my jobs were always small, but I never said, okay, well, these are the things that I did to support this business, to support this company, and this is the value add that I brought to this company. And so my raise should match that. I didn't do any of that. It was usually like, here's your review. This is what we thought of your progress for the year, and this is what we think you should make. Those days are gone. I never negotiated my salary. Any money that people offer me in job offers, I didn't know that you can say, no, I actually want to make this much. I know that the range is this amount, and I would like to be in the middle or the higher end of this range. Instead, I just took whatever they gave me. Have a clients. I'm gonna slow down, y'all. I have clients that I have worked with who also have never negotiated salaries and never negotiated raises. And one of the things that I love working with women in particular, especially now, knowing all of the things that we know with like the gender wage gap, pay transparency, and just empowerment in general, women are doing a damn thing and we deserve to be compensated for those things. I remember specifically working with a client a couple years ago who was certified out the ass. She had degrees upon degrees, certifications on certifications, and she was not advocating for herself when it came to her salary. When we started, she was making, if there was a range for her role, she was making the bottom. And that is what people who are just starting out, people who don't have the qualifications and certifications that she had, would get. And we talked through it, like, why do you feel like you can't, advocate for yourself? Why do you think, what do we need to do? She was so uncomfortable at the idea of like saying, okay, this is how much money I make, this is what I do, bragging on herself. She was so uncomfortable with that she just hadn't done it. This story has a happy ending because we worked through some of those mindset blocks. We talked about why she was uncomfortable doing it. We made a brag list for her and put some respect on her name with all of the things that she brought to the table. And what ended up happening is she got a job offer at a different organization that did see the value in the work that she was doing. They were already willing to pay her more than her current role. But we negotiated an extra $20,000 on top of what she was going to be making in that new role, because she started to see the value in the work that she was doing. And we worked together so that she can have the language and the confidence to do that. And so it was about stepping out of her comfort zone and knowing that it is okay to have a dialogue when it comes to your pay and your salary. Your income is one of the biggest tools that you have towards building wealth. And so it's really important for you to advocate for yourself and negotiate your salary so that you can have the most amount of money as possible to build a life that you love. I recently did a workshop with some teenagers, and I created this whole money analogy. And so I want you to think of like money as a tool, like a hammer. You can build or you can destroy with money. But the amount of money, the income that you have, is going to be like your building materials. And so sometimes you might have a little bit of building materials, and with that, you can only build a little bit. And then sometimes you have a lot of building materials. And the more building materials you have, the bigger the things that you can create are. And so your income, like, I am always, always, always going to advocate for you to make more money. Period. So we have to get comfortable with advocating for ourselves and asking for raises and speaking up and negotiating our salaries, and even just being proactive and having conversations with our direct supervisor and bosses so that they know that when it's time for raises and promotions, that I want to be acknowledged, and I want to be put in the running for those things so that you can so that you have a shot at getting those things. There's a lot of times, at the last episode we talked about expectations, where you would go above and beyond for your job and for your company, and you expect that they would just recognize you and offer you these things, but sometimes that doesn't happen. And so you might need to step out of your comfort zone and be proactive with having those conversations, which goes perfectly into the next example, which is about talking about money. Money is still one of those things where people are so uncomfortable talking about it to anybody. But we're going to specifically just focus on like our family members and our spouses and partners. This is such a crucial thing that we have to do. If you are not having healthy dialogues around your finances with your family members and your partners and your friends, this is a year that we are going to start doing it. Okay. You don't necessarily need to disclose how much money you make, or, your specific numbers and how much debt you have and all those different things, unless you're comfortable with having those conversations with people. If you have a safe space, then by all means, like, don't want you to feel isolated in those things. But it is going to be important to let people know that you have a budget, or to let people know that, this isn't a priority right now, or standing up for yourself, having conversations with your spouse around money, what their goals are with money, what money means to them, what their money story is. Just having deeper, more complex conversations about our finances, getting uncomfortable, getting financially vulnerable with people so that they can show their true colors and either support you in the things that you are trying to do, or reveal themselves as somebody who doesn't necessarily have your best interest at heart. And then you can do what you need to do with that information. Now, with my husband, I think we've shared, and I'll have him on the podcast pretty soon. I shared that, we did not communicate very well when it came to money for a very long time in our marriage. It was several years where we just did not we weren't on the same page. And again, we just avoided the conversations because they were uncomfortable. I would get defensive, he would get angry, and it just wasn't great, right? So we just avoided it because it wasn't it wasn't comfortable for us. And then we started by having a conversation just around like what our goals were. And we kind of let the conversations build from there. And we've learned so much about what money means to us, how we both see money, how we use money, how we view money. But having those conversations allow us to both feel seen and heard and respected in our partnership and in our marriage, so that we can do and work together, do things together and work together. My husband is one of the hardest working people that I know. When I met him, he has 6 jobs, and I said that right, six, SIX, 6 jobs. Now he has, I think, technically, he's got his full time job and then like 2 like side things. He's always got like something on his side that he's working on. So he's got really good work ethic. And so he has always been very focused, very driven when it comes to money. He doesn't mind working hard for money. And me, on the other hand, I don't have or didn't have the same type of work ethic as him. My work ethic has gotten a lot better, especially since being a business owner. Um, but in that process, like, he will work really hard for money. I would just spend lots of money because I didn't respect money. And we were on 2 completely different pages, because the way he saw money was like, okay, he's going out and working for it and I'm just spending it. And so we had to have some really uncomfortable conversations about how he felt like I was disrespecting the work that he was doing by just spending the money as soon as it came in. And then I had to take some ownership and accountability, like, you know what? I could just maybe be a little bit more intentional and strategic with how I'm spending this money. But it was having uncomfortable conversations, being vulnerable and transparent with him, that we were able to, again, get on the same page, start to budget, pay off debt, build wealth. This is how we were able to do it, having uncomfortable conversations and working together. The same thing with family members. My family members all know our journey. They know our story, not just from the podcast or because of my business. I've been transparent about the things that we have been working on. They hear me say, no, I'm not doing this. This isn't a focus right now. Right now, we're working on X. Right now, we're getting ready to do Z. And so they hear us, the things that we're doing. We talk about it. It's not secret. I think in our culture, in Black culture, a lot of times we have this, like, we need to move in silence type of mentality. And that's not always helpful. People need to know what is going on, okay? Because if you are a first gen in your family, a first gen high earner, you are a first gen college graduate, you are a first gen anything, a lot of people are going to be looking to you for support and advice. And sometimes that's financial stuff. And so it's going to be really important for you to create clear and honest communication, even if it's uncomfortable, with what you will and will not do. Even down to your kids, y'all. Okay. So I am recording this in December. This will air in December. And I just had some really not uncomfortable, because I'm at this point, like, I'm good with it, conversations with my kids about what they will and will not be getting for Christmas. Now, my oldest does not believe in Santa Claus anymore. We flat out told her that Santa Claus doesn't exist. And I really want to tell the boys, but my husband is not on the same page. That's a story for another day. But for the boys, we did tell them that we're not getting them Christmas, or they're not going to get toys for Christmas this year. This year, instead of bringing more stuff into my house, I really want them to focus on experiences and memories and things like that. And so I have conversations with my children, conversations that we might feel are uncomfortable, about what we can and or will not do. I'm not going to say can and cannot do with our finances, that align to the goals that we have for ourselves and for them. It was really hard a couple years ago for me to be able to have conversations with my kids and say, tell them no to buying certain things, because I felt like once we paid off debt, we had some discretionary money, we were investing, we were saving, life was good, and we still had extra money. I should be able to just get my kids whatever they want. And so it was uncomfortable sometimes for me to tell my kids no to things, because there was part of me and young little Tiffany, my inner child, that felt like if I told them no, they would be so disappointed that they would never forgive me. They would never understand. But I think it's really important for us to have these conversations with our children. And we have to get comfortable having these conversations with our children. I believe in our children seeing us have a whole human experience. And so being honest, being transparent with everybody in your family, your spouses, your friends, your kids, everybody, about what is happening in your finances, not only offers you support that you need to reach your goals, but it gets everybody on the same page, and it just opens up a whole nother level of communication, honesty, and vulnerability. That was a whole mouthful about talking about money. clearly that needs to be its own episode. All right, the next one, I'm gonna try to go through these next ones pretty quickly. The next one is seeking help. Okay, which kind of also ties into what we are just talking about, getting support. Seeking help. There are so many times where people need help with their finances, but you don't want to do it because you are uncomfortable. You don't know what to say to the advisors. You don't know what to expect with the coaches. You are simply just trying to wing it and figure it out on your own. I want 2024 to be the year that you find a way to step out of your comfort zone and get support in your finances. There's different levels of support. So if you are looking for help with your money management, your day-to-day finances, paying off debt, saving money, understanding your money mindset, your spending habits and things like that, then it's going to be helpful for you to get with a financial coach or a financial counselor. I'm a financial coach. If you want to talk to me, I am more than happy to support you in this. I have lots of friends. So if I'm not a good fit for you, I know that I know somebody that would be. But if you need a financial coach, then financial coaches are the ones that help you with your day-to-day finances. If you're looking for somebody that's going to help you with your investments and to grow your money and to help you maximize the money that you have, then you're ready for a financial advisor or a financial planner. Also have resources for those, so you can still hit me up and I could connect you with people. If you are ready, I just had someone today text me about estate planning, right? So if you're ready to take your finances to the next level and make sure that your will and your trust and your directives and all those things are legally in place, you can get somebody to help you with that. If you need someone to help you with your taxes, okay, making sure that you are taking advantage of all of the tax deductions, credits that you can, so that you can keep as much money as much of your money as possible, then it might be time for you to tap into an accountant or a CPA. Also got those. Basically, I'm the plug for any financial professional that you would need. But I want this to be the year that you don't continue to wing it. Yes, there's lots of information out there on the internet, and I love and hate it because there's times where you're trying to implement like Donald Trump tax strategies when we haven't even mastered the basics. So it's good for you to get with the professionals and the people that can support you with where you are in your journey and get you to the next level. Now, I'll also say this because just like therapy, I think with the hesitation that people have when it comes to therapy is that they think that once they get in therapy, they'll be in therapy for the rest of their lives. That's not necessarily the case with therapy, and that's not necessarily the case with any sort of money professional that you work with, whether it's a coach, an advisor, a planner, whoever. Those people could be in your life for a season. You might have, some tax things that you need to figure out that you need a CPA on for this 1 year, and then next year you could go back to doing TurboTax if that's what you're used to. There might be a period where you need to work through some boundaries and understanding why you're using your money the way that you are. So help working with the coach might be good for a particular season. Your advisor, same thing. You might want to, learn something new and start your investments and put those things on like a slow cook, let them set it and forget it. And that's not somebody that you need to contact on a regular basis. It's just always good to have those people in the back pocket and not be afraid to ask for the help and seek out those things. Okay. I want us to get comfortable with tapping in to the resources and the connections that are available to us. All right. Next one is confronting your debt. So I mentioned earlier about like one of the hardest things for people to do when I started my coaching business was like looking at their numbers and facing how much debt they had, pulling their credit reports and seeing the collections and all those different things. It can be really daunting. It's you don't want to look under the bed. You don't want to pull the curtain back and see what is going on. But I tell you, like, you have to get comfortable with confronting these things because that is where there's so much power. You take your power back when you're able to confront those things and create a plan of how you plan on and a strategy on how you plan on dealing with those things. We don't want to avoid those things forever. Now that you've seen what's happening, this is where you are able to step into your power and do things differently. The next one is setting clear financial goals. I hear so many people when I ask them like, what are their goals when it comes to finances? And I made a podcast episode about this too. I hear people say things like pay off debt. I want to, save money. I want to do these things. But they don't usually think larger about what they want to accomplish. And even with my clients, when we first start, like they just put like some really superficial things and they settle for things that they don't want or because they're uncomfortable. If they set these big lofty goals, that means they're going to have to actually do some work to get to those goals. It means that they're going to have to do things differently, and that is uncomfortable for a lot of people. And so what I see is people saying things like, I don't know what I want, or settling for smaller things because they're uncomfortable with the progress or the process. In order for you to truly get to the life that you envision for yourself, the life that God has for you, it's going to be important for you to step out of your comfort zone. Let's get clear about what those goals are, why you want those goals, what the commitment cost is, right? And sometimes it's your comfort. Sometimes it means that you're going to have to do things differently for a period of time so that you can make progress. Which takes me into the next one, which is saying no or not now to purchases and sometimes spending your money. And basically just using money out of alignment with your current goals and priorities. I can't tell you how many times I see this. I am a spender and I like to spend money. And so it was really hard for me to build up the skill and the muscle to tell myself no, to tell myself not now, to not impulsively shop and do things with my money. Sorry, Joy. Can we try that whole thing again? All right, which brings me to my next point, which is saying no to impulse purchases or not now to them, and then just making sure that we're using our money in alignment with our current goals and priorities. Okay, y'all, we have to get comfortable with saying no. We have to get comfortable with saying not now. I've mentioned this before on the podcast that if YOLO was a person when it came to their finances, that was me. I believe that tomorrow's not promised. Swipe the card today. I chose violence at any opportunity against my finances because I had a really difficult time prioritizing the things that I said that I wanted. I had a really hard time saying no to my friends. I had a really hard time like just passing things up, right? FOMO led me. I did not want to miss out on the opportunity. Okay, so if it was here, it was a good deal. I got to take it. If my friends are going out, I don't want to not go out. So I would do things that were just not in alignment. Um, that is a skill and a discipline and a muscle that you have to build. This is one of, I want to like highlight this. I want to put this on like a bullhorn. In 2024, I want you to practice. I want you to get comfortable saying no, saying not now to things that are out of alignment with your current goals and priorities. Okay? Because those things are going to, the more you say yes, the more you swipe your card, the more you put the trips on the credit cards, you are keeping yourself further and further from the goals that you have of paying off debt and saving money and using your money just in a way that feels good. There's so much guilt and shame that comes with these impulse purchases too. A lot of times when you'll swipe your card and then again when you look at your when you're starting to go back and track your expenses, you're like, damn, I spent blah 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 blah. Then there's guilt, there's shame, there's all of this negative stuff that comes with it that we have to overcome before we could get back on the saddle. And that is one of the biggest reasons that I feel like is the a struggle with clients who are like, okay, I was good and then I wasn't, I was good and then I wasn't, because there's again so much guilt and shame that come with these impulse purchases. It is difficult and uncomfortable to challenge ourselves against consumerism, against FOMO, against YOLO lifestyles that will keep us stuck financially. But it is going to be so important for you to really get comfortable with focusing on the things that are important right now in your life in this season, which whatever that is. If that's saving money, then any additional money that you have, you want to put that towards savings. Same thing with paying off debt, buying a house, whatever your goal is, just being clear about what those priorities are and then saying no to the rest. No is a complete sentence, y'all. I don't know who needs to hear that, but it is. Get comfortable with using it. Lastly, we have revisiting financial mistakes. Okay. Now, the reason why I want us to get comfortable with doing this is not to beat ourselves up about it. We just talked about the guilt and shame that comes with like looking back. But it is important for us to see what are the habits and patterns that are happening so that we can avoid those things in the future. One of the things I had to do with my finances was changing the people that I hung out with. One of the things that I had to do was just being aware of my triggers. And so when we're looking back at past mistakes, it's not to scrutinize ourselves, it's not to judge ourselves, beat ourselves up, and make us feel any worse about our finances than we already are. But it is really important for us to look back sometimes and see, how did we get here? One of the analogies that I absolutely love for looking back in the past is the car analogy, right? Your rear view mirror in a car is so small. You can look back for a second, but you normally, when you're driving, don't stare at the rear view mirror the whole time. We look back to see what's behind us, see where we came from. But that windshield in front of us, where we're going, is so much bigger. And so there's times where we have to look back. And yes, looking back can be uncomfortable, especially when we're thinking about like our money story and how we got here and our debt and all these different things. But I also want you to then quickly focus on where you are going. We're looking back so we know what to avoid and all these different things that we need to do differently going forward. Okay. And that's the whole point. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I said I was going to make it short. I did my best, y'all. But I really want us to, again, in 2024, I want us to get intentionally uncomfortable with our finances so we could do different things differently and make progress towards our goals. I know we're probably already uncomfortable, right? We talked about that. Like there's times where you're swiping your card, you're looking at your paycheck and all these different things. You're already uncomfortable. But now we're going to get intentionally uncomfortable in a way that's going to propel us forward. Your reflection question for today is to think about what financial discomfort you've been avoiding and what do you need to do to start embracing it. So it could be the budgeting piece, it could be saving money, it could be negotiating a salary, it could be starting a business. I don't know what it is for you. It could be investing. I don't know what it is for you, but I want you to think about what are the things that you have been avoiding? What are the things that make you most uncomfortable with your finances that you need to do going forward? Email it to me because I care. Not only can I provide you with strategies and things that you can do to help you overcome them, I can also make sure that, we hold you accountable to the things that you said you want to do. All right. So 3 quick takeaways from this episode. I want you to know that being discomfort or being 3 quick takeaways from this episode. I want you to, one, know that discomfort breeds progress. Okay. So stepping out of your comfort zone, again, there's usually a reward on the other side. There is a goal that you've been avoiding and not accomplishing that is on the other side of that, or just something that is just part of your natural responsibilities that you are going to benefit from on the other side of that. Start building up your confidence and your tolerance to discomfort slowly. Um, you don't have to go into an uncomfortable conversation and just bare your soul with somebody, but you can maybe start by, talking to them about what their financial goals are. And that could be the first layer of the conversation. And then you can circle back and be like, well, what do you think about this or blah, 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 whatever it is. And so just building on those things and not necessarily trying to eat an elephant. You can just start small if you need to. When it comes to budgeting, which I want us to all make sure that we are budgeting our money intentionally in 2024, start small. So start with, looking at your money for a little bit, just taking it step by step, creating a day to assess your finances, putting a budget together, and then going back and looking at it again. But doing it little by little. You don't have to build it in one day. Next thing is understanding that discomfort is a catalyst for change. Okay. So when you reframe the way that you look at discomfort, it makes it easier for you to take actionable steps. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. Being uncomfortable is something that I personally, I don't love being uncomfortable, let's be honest, but I am a change maker just at heart. When things aren't working, I don't mind changing them. So usually with that comes some level of discomfort. And so I don't mind being intentionally uncomfortable for the things that I really care about. If this is you and you want to start challenging yourself in your finances, I want to invite you to join me for Money on the Mat. It is a yoga and money workshop where we're going to be having a session all around embracing financial discomfort. And so if you can imagine what that would look like in yoga, I am excited for it. And so we will be, I'm not even going to tell you what we're going to be doing, but we're going to be doing some movement that'll help us mental or physically get uncomfortable. And then we'll talk about some things in our finances, more specific things that in our finances that we need to do to get uncomfortable and embrace the discomfort so that we can get to our goals. If you're in the DMV, love to have you there. Go to my website, lotuslegacy.co/MOTM, Money on the Mat, to get more details for that. Love to have you there. And I hope that this episode was helpful for you. If you like this episode, remember sharing is caring. So share it with a friend. Make sure that you review and rate the podcast. Let me know what you think. And until next time, keep growing.